My name is Caroline Johnson. I've been married for 10 years, but my husband, Thomas, and I don't have any children. Thomas believes that as long as a couple is happy together, it doesn't matter if they have kids or not. He's the youngest in his family, and his older brother takes care of their parents. I'm an only child, so I needed to take care of my parents eventually. Thomas agreed, and we decided to build a new house for this purpose. But once the house was finished, Thomas said something unbelievable. "Now that we've moved in, all that's left is for my parents to join us." I was pleased with how everything was settling in and said so. Just then, the doorbell rang as if someone had been waiting for our move to be complete. When I opened the door, a young woman was standing there. Who might you be? I wondered since we hadn't even introduced ourselves to the neighbors yet. But when Thomas came out from inside, he cheerfully invited her in. "What do you think?" "It's a brand new house." "Wow, large windows and a lawn. And a spacious kitchen. What about the bathroom?" She walked around as if it were her own house, with Thomas showing her around. Thomas was eagerly showing her around. Who is she? I wondered, but couldn't get a moment to ask my husband, who was completely engrossed in attending to her. Maybe she's a relative? I thought as I prepared tea. Nothing beats a new house. The home gym is amazing. Especially the bathroom, it's so big. I could even watch videos while taking a bath. It's so spacious, 2 people could easily fit in there. Well, yeah, it's quite fancy. What? Fancy? When the 2 of them finally came back to the living room, they snuggled up together on the sofa. But I don't like the color of the bedspread. That's easy, we can just replace it with a new one. What are they talking about? The bed doesn't matter. So, we're good then? Of course. Honey, who's this person? She's my lover. What, a lover? Shocked by his unexpected words, I desperately tried to think that he must mean something other than a lover. But I couldn't think of any other possibility. Wow, the old lady looks surprised. Thomas, didn't you tell her anything? No, I haven't said anything yet. That's not good. You should have told her. Don't worry, I'm gonna tell her now. What is he going to say? Who is this woman claiming to be a lover? You might not have known, but Margaret here is my girlfriend. Now he says she's his girlfriend. My husband, Thomas, is 38, and this woman in front of me is clearly in her late 20s. Yet, he's calling her his lover, then his girlfriend. I can't make sense of what he's saying. You still don't get it? You're so clueless. Does this mean you've been cheating? It's not cheating. Is he going to say it's serious? It is serious. Ah, just as I thought. This feels like a line from some TV shows I've seen. The whole "it's not cheating, it's serious" thing. So, this is betrayal, right? Yeah, you could see it that way. But it can't be helped. I love Margaret more than you. Such blatant defiance. So, I'm gonna leave you. A 38-year-old man bringing home such a young woman and suddenly talking about divorce. And this, just after we've built a new house, with a mortgage looming ahead. What about this house? It's brand new, you know? And we've got a mortgage to pay off. You don't need to worry about the mortgage. After all, the house is in your name, so you're the one who'll be paying it. What? Yes, the house is in my name. When we were discussing the ownership, my husband said, "I'll be covering the living expenses, so you can handle the mortgage. In return, let's put it in your name. Who knows, I might pass away first. If it's in my name, there'll be all that fuss about inheritance tax, right?" That made sense to me, so I agreed to his proposal. So, Margaret and I will live here, right? Right. What do they mean by right? This house was built to live with my parents. I never planned to live with your parents. You were just dreaming that up on your own. How could you? I planned to live here with Maggie from the start. Just as originally intended. How is this originally intended? I wanted to say so much, but my mind went blank and I couldn't think of what to say. Even if I wanted to argue, I couldn't find the words. So, Margaret and I will live here. You should leave. Here, I've prepared the divorce paper. My husband said this mockingly as he handed me the divorce forms. Meanwhile, Margaret was looking at her nails. They were long, neatly manicured. Can he really live with a woman who keeps her nails like that? Hurry up and take it. Once you've taken, pack your stuff and leave. And, take the divorce papers to the court, will you? We're planning to get married soon. The woman said, smiling triumphantly. Feeling rushed, I took the divorce papers and went to the bedroom to pack my things. I was supposed to sleep in this bed tonight, but now it will be my husband and that woman. I felt nauseous. Hey, how much longer are you going to take? Margaret is telling you to hurry up. Just get out already. I couldn't say anything back, barely managing a nod. Leaving the house, I went to the court to submit the divorce papers. Then, I headed to my parents' house, but tears blurred my vision. Arriving home, my mom greeted me, shocked to see me crying. What happened? Mom. I hadn't cried this loudly in years. Tears flooded out as if releasing all the pent-up emotions. Just come inside. Once inside, she patiently waited for me to stop crying. It must have been an hour before I could finally speak. Then, I started talking non-stop, like a dam had burst. What just happened? The betrayal by my husband. His young lover. My mother was undoubtedly shocked after hearing it all. When did it start? When? I wonder. Thinking about it, there had been signs that something was off about a year ago. But I had convinced myself that my husband couldn't possibly be cheating. Or maybe, it was just easier to think that way and stop suspecting him. I see. Well, I understand how you feel. So, what are you going to do now? What to do? Are you just going to accept the divorce and step back, letting them do as they please? Or are you going to fight back? Fight back? I don't even know what I could do. Yeah, that's tough. After a moment of thought, my mother said, if you decide to fight back, I'll help you. Several weeks later, with advice from my mother, I returned to the new house. What do you want? Came back to pick up something you forgot? Really, old lady, showing up without calling? That's so not cool. We're busy, you know. Quiet, you brat. That's mean. Hey, Tommy, are you going to let her talk to me like that? I'm being bullied by this old lady here. Poor Maggie, it's unacceptable for me to bully you for sure. It's nice that you two are so lovey-dovey, but I've come to talk. Can't you let me in? Why not just talk here at the door? This is my house. You're a stranger now. This can't possibly be your house anymore. Right, that's the important point. I'm a stranger to this man. Too bad. The rights to this place are mine. Now, move aside. I pushed past them and headed to the living room. But it was no longer the living room I had loved, it was filled with the woman's tastes. Such childish taste. Better than being old-fashioned. What's this all about? Spit it out already. I sat down on the sofa, smiled mockingly at them, and said, "Get out." What? Get out? Are you kidding me? You're the one who should be leaving. No, it's you who should leave. The owner of this house is me. Now that we're divorced, I, as the owner, have the rights. If you don't leave, I'll sue you. Sue us? That's right. How can you even sue? That's impossible. Have you lost your mind after the divorce? My mind is perfectly fine. Like I said earlier, we're strangers now that we're divorced. And I'm the owner of this house. You staying here without my consent is trespassing. If you don't want to be sued, you better pack your things and leave quickly. Don't be ridiculous. You didn't say anything like that when we divorced. Of course not. How could I remain calm when you suddenly brought your lover home? In such a situation, who would think about the law? That's impossible. What? I'm saying you can't do it. Oh, and why is that? With your personality, I can't see you doing something like that. I've known you all this time. You couldn't do anything without me. And now suddenly, you're capable of such a big move? You're just trying to threaten me. You're underestimating me. Happy now? Who's underestimating whom? If you keep this up, you're going to get hurt, you know? Ah, do your worst. Fine, you asked for it. I came here to warn you kindly, but you're just foolish. So, if that's what you want, I'll proceed. Enjoy cooling your head in jail. I said this, stood up and headed towards the door. I got into my car and immediately called my lawyer. A few days later, Thomas called me in a panic. Hey! I got a letter from the lawyer. Oh, really? You actually sued us? I haven't sued you yet. But I wouldn't say such things blindly. Before going to the police, I consulted a lawyer. So, we're going to get arrested? That's right. If you don't leave, I'll go to the police. You might be detained for up to 72 hours. If that happens, your employer will find out, and you might even get fired. Why would you do something like that? I haven't done it yet. Please stop. If you want me to stop, then leave that place. No, I can't. Margaret wouldn't like it. I don't care what your dear Maggie thinks. That house is mine. What am I supposed to do? How can I stay in this house? I can agree to a settlement. A settlement? Yes. The settlement amount is $20,000. $20,000? It's a cheap price to stay here. So if I pay $20,000, can I really stay here? Yes, you can. And you won't go to the police? I won't. But if you want to stay, you need to pay the mortgage on this house. Think of it as rent. Rent! Then, I heard some talking in the background over the phone. Listening closely, it sounded like Margaret was saying something. Hey, if we get arrested, will we really go to jail? You'll be detained for questioning. Then it might go to trial, and you could either get a real sentence or a fine. A fine? What's that? Look it up. There's plenty of info online. If you know, just tell me. Scared much? A fine means you settle it with money. How much? Who knows? It says up to $2,000. Then isn't it better to just go to trial? If you think so, go ahead. But remember, you'll have a criminal record, and you'll definitely lose your job. Plus, finding a new job will be tough. If it were just about money, wouldn't everyone choose a trial? But there's a big social risk involved. So, that's how it is. So, accepting a settlement is the best option, isn't it? And if you want to live in that house, you'll have to pay rent. How much is the rent? The full amount of the mortgage. Once I finish paying that, will the house be mine? Of course not. The house is in my name. I pay the taxes on it, so it's mine, no matter how you look at it. That's not right, Margaret says. I don't care how wrong she thinks it is. Your dear Maggie doesn't understand the societal aspects, does she? How the world works. She's young. If you understand it's because of her youth, then as the older one, you should teach her. Not that you could. Your words are harsh. Well, yes. We're strangers now, so I don't need to consider your feelings. I used to choose my words not to upset you, but I don't need to do that anymore. I see. Hey, give me the title to the house. The title? Yeah. Margaret wants to own this house. And we didn't divide any property when we divorced. I should at least get the house, right? Do you think we had property to divide? We both contributed to the living expenses from our earnings, right? So, there's no joint savings. In fact, all the household items and appliances, I mostly paid for them. Technically, I could take all of it. Oh, and the furniture we bought when we renovated, I paid for that too. That's ridiculous. See? Pretending to know about property division will only hurt you. So, okay, not property division. Just give me the house. Are you okay in the head? I can't believe you're asking for that. I have no choice. Margaret insists she wants the house in her name. You're just a puppet. So naive. Please. All right then, you just need to pay the down payment of $20,000. Down payment? Yes, that much for the title to become yours. It's a pretty good deal, I think. Yeah, I guess so. All right, I'll pay $20,000. Then, with the settlement and the down payment, that makes $40,000 in total. Plus, you'll cover the costs for the title transfer. What? What's that? It's a gift, so there'll be a gift tax. Tough, isn't it? You've got to be kidding. This is real. Quite a shock, isn't it? All right. I'll do it for Maggie. Sure, Maggie this, Maggie that. Please make sure the payment is in one lump sum, Maggie. So, I received a total of $40,000 in cash, comprising the settlement of $20,000 and a down payment of another $20,000. But I wasn't planning to let it end there. Considering the humiliation and pain I had endured, I wouldn't be satisfied until he hit rock bottom. A month later, I heard Thomas's panicked voice again. Hey, Caroline. What's this about? Hello there. But you know, you and I are strangers now. Please don't address me so informally. Got it. What is this about? Well, you're saying this over the phone. That's funny. A lawyer's demanding spousal support from me. Oh, that's a pretty standard claim. How is it standard? We're already divorced, and the papers have been processed. True. But the cause of the divorce is on you. You brought your lover into our home, and when asked about cheating, you openly admitted it was serious. It's absurd to think you wouldn't be sued and asked for spousal support. But you didn't mention this when we divorced. Well, back then, my mind was blank. I didn't think of it. Now that I'm calm, I see I have quite an advantage. But why now? It's been a month since we divorced. Isn't that something you claim right away? Or discuss it at the time? Listen, there's no period for claiming spousal support. It can be claimed anytime unless the divorce judgment changes. Oh, divorce teaches you so much. Hey, I've already paid $40,000 for the settlement and down payment for the house. And now spousal support on top of that. That $20,000 was to keep you and Maggie out of jail. And the other $20,000 was the down payment because you wanted the house, right? Neither of those has no business with it. I know, but this is just impossible. Guess what? I have some exciting news. What? The only good news would be you dropping the spousal support claim. Not happening. But here's a new fact I discovered after we split. Listen up. I'm pregnant with your child. What? No way. True. With all this happening, I felt sick. I thought it was a stomach ulcer or something, so I went to the gastroenterologist. They told me to visit the gynecologist, and guess what? I'm 3 months pregnant. Yay! We couldn't have kids for so long. Maybe feeling safe about not being able to conceive was what did it. Now, of all times. So, expect a claim for child support too. Child support, even though we're divorced? You can take a DNA test if you wish. However, it just adds to the cost. It's obvious you're the dad. Please pay the child support. No way! You're planning to have the baby at your age? Of course. It's my long-awaited child. There's no question of not having it. This is crazy! We were okay with the mortgage because we couldn't have kids. No, you thought it was okay because you planned to make me pay it. Well, maybe I did think that. I'm not saying you have to pay every month. What do you mean? If you paid every month, Maggie wouldn't like it, right? It'd reduce the money for her, even though it's not her child. So, spousal support and child support, I'd prefer it all in one lump sum. You can't be serious. I am. I don't lie like you do. That's impossible. Well then, do you want to pay monthly? I'm sure Maggie would be furious. Can you handle that? No way. Right. So, it's better to pay it all at once. Even if it means getting a loan. You can always make up some story about why you need the loan. You're good at lying. After all, you cheated on me without me knowing. So, the spousal support is $60,000, and child support for 20 years at $600 per month comes to $144,000. Oh, the total is $204,000, lucky me. You've got to be kidding! How am I supposed to pay that? If you can't pay, I'll have to ask my lawyer to take legal action. Keep that in mind. I'll have to borrow from a consumer loan service. Why not ask Maggie to work? Having run out of savings, my husband borrowed from a loan service and paid everything in a lump sum. I never thought he'd actually borrow from a consumer loan service, but his going into the negative was lucky for me. The timing of the pregnancy was surprising, but I think the baby was cheering me on. Now, Thomas is struggling with the mortgage payments. He probably thought he could manage with his savings for a while. I can't pay because I have no money doesn't cut it. So, Thomas's solution was to plead, Maggie, I'm sorry. Could you please work? But Margaret was having none of it. What? Are you joking? Why should I work? Tommy, you said I could be a stay-at-home wife when we got married. I know, but I can't pay the mortgage. We both have to work now. No way! Why suddenly change? You said we were fine because of your savings. Well, there's a bit of a situation with that. I don't care. I absolutely refuse to work. No matter how much he tried to reason with her, Margaret refused to work, not doing anything around the house or even cooking properly. She spent her days playing games or hanging out with friends. This can't go on. I have no choice but to sell the house. Thomas decided to sell and went to a real estate agency run by my friend. This friend, though mutual, was closer to me. What? It's a new house. Why are you selling it? Well, it's because... After hearing the situation, my friend came to me with the story. Everything was in Thomas's favor, not mentioning anything about his mistress. So, I told my friend everything. That happened. So, can you sell the house? It's tough. It's new but considered second-hand now. Plus, he wants to sell it high. And it's far from the station. But I'll give it a try. However, it didn't sell, and the price kept dropping. He complained that it's down a lot, half of what it cost to build it. Really? It dropped that much? Then I'll buy it. The house, new but now second-hand, was going for cheap, but I wanted it even cheaper. Really? Yeah, but I don't want to buy at the current price. If you can drop it by another $100,000, I'll buy it. Just don't tell Thomas it's me buying. All right, got it. Then, my friend approached Thomas saying, there's someone interested in buying, but they're asking if the price can be lowered even more. If you drop it by another $100,000, they'll buy it. That much? Yes, that's the offer. But think about it, if you keep holding on to the house without selling, the mortgage will just keep piling up, right? It's better to sell, isn't it? Skillfully steering the conversation, my friend managed to get Thomas to agree to lower the price by another $100,000, selling it to me for less than half its original value. However, Margaret, who hadn't been informed about the sale, was furious. Why are you selling the house behind my back? What do you mean we have to move out by the end of the month? This is not a joke. You're so worthless. I'm sorry, Maggie. But I had no choice. If we continue like this, we won't be able to pay the mortgage and we'll lose the house anyway. All that will be left is debt. That's not my problem. You said I could live in a new house when we got married. This is like a fraud. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. There's no way I'm forgiving you. I can't live with a loser like you. I'll divorce you right away. Furious, Margaret left Thomas after he begged for forgiveness. Thomas then used the money from the house sale to repay his consumer loan. However, the mortgage remained. He tried to stay positive, telling himself, all I have to do now is pay the monthly mortgage. And he continued to pay the mortgage, which had been reduced by about half. But then, further disaster struck. It was the damage bill I sent to Margaret for her annoying harassment before the divorce. Thinking it unfair for Thomas to suffer alone, I sent Margaret a bill for ruining my marriage. Margaret, however, tried to make Thomas pay for it. Why am I getting this bill? It's not my fault. You're the one to blame. You should pay for it, Margaret said. Frustrated, Thomas came complaining to me. Why are you sending Margaret a damage bill? I could sense his plea for mercy. You know, she was part of breaking up a family, right? It's only what she deserves. But it's all coming down on me. Just refuse to pay if you don't like it, I said, but Thomas, being bombarded with complaints by Margaret, made a promise he couldn't keep to pay it himself. In the end, he borrowed from a consumer loan service again to pay the bill in full. This led him into an even more difficult situation, as the interest on the loans compounded. He worked his day job and cleaned buildings at night, but it didn't bring in much money. Desperate, he even tried medical trial jobs, which left him physically exhausted and struggling through hard days. As for me, I was living comfortably in the new house with my parents and newborn child, enjoying a very affluent lifestyle thanks to the reduced price of the house, the child support and spousal support, and the down payment from Thomas. It's indeed a happy life for me.